Welcome to episode 14 of
Savage Discourse.
Savage Discourse.
You good?
Yeah?
You need a towel?
Nope.
All right.
None of your business. Welcome back. Last week, episode 13, Kyle and I spoke about Kyle's illegitimate history as a felon.
That's legitimate.
Is it legitimately felonious?
Yes. Balonious.
Felonious.
Baloney.
So last week we talked about how Kyle was unfortunately the recipient of a giant mushroom stamp from the state of Alabama.
Mushroom stamp?
And in terms of legality and his life being affected. And Kyle chronicled what it was like to experience incarceration behind a concert stage and then being carted away in a small van and then being held. And then and then what it was like to be held at a Alabama, I don't know if it was a state or county prison, probably a county prison. Jail.
I think it was a state.
A state jail?
It was big.
Okay. We'll say it's a state just because it's more doper. So Kyle being held at a state jail due to bringing too many stickers, bringing contraband stickers in with him.
Mm-hmm.
And we got all the way up until he was released. And now this is part 2 of Kyle goes to jail. Kyle goes to jail. Kyle gets out of jail.
Kyle gets out of jail.
But continues to live an imprisoned life.
In this episode, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Why, yes. Yes, I do.
So, yeah, we're going to pick back up because we think this is a 2-parter. And Kyle, I will. Last we talked about, Kyle had a butthole guy, and he. There's a lot of. I highly recommend checking out that episode because this episode is gonna feel. We're probably gonna make some callbacks.
Yeah,
if you didn't have a chance to check
and it just
out.
wouldn't make sense picking up from here. you gotta know the full beginning to see the end.
Yeah, you do.
Yes,
that's right.
All right, so got out of jail. Went back to the hotel.
Before you start. Go ahead and start, and I'll interrupt.
So
before you start, I want to. I want to tell you something. I want you to be as gratuitously vivid and paint the warts and all, the big, hairy, bumpy, stubbly warts. I want to know what it was like. Because I think it'd be great to illustrate what it's like to have a felony on your record and what doors that closes, what windows it closes, what other
garage doors it closes.
I'm just thinking of apertures at points of egress that it closes.
Well, if I'm too detailed, it's going to be a 3-parter.
Okay, so be sufficiently detail-oriented that it's substantial, but don't be overly detail-oriented.
Yeah, if you got any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, I think that I have no problem doing that.
Cool.
All right, and go ahead.
Away we go. Okay, so got back to the hotel room. Immediately after getting out of jail for drugs, everybody slammed me with drugs and alcohol, so I got more drunk and high. And then the next day, that was my first day sober. Mm-hmm. So after that,
we were just so happy to see you.
Oh, I know. I was fine with it.
We were so scared.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling too great either. Oh yeah, I think we got past this too. That you all snuck me in the festival the next day.
Yeah. No, we did talk. So I'm talking when you came back to Louisville, Kentucky, our state of residence.
So get back to Louisville, Kentucky. Excuse me. And everything was good for like couple weeks. I had to contact a lawyer. Went lawyer shopping.
Oh, that's right.
An experience.
Yeah, what's that like?
Terrible.
So it's not a good experience.
So I was of the mindset that I just kind of assume the worst thing's always going to happen. It's a good coping mechanism.
to be rigidly pessimistic.
Yes. So
all right, what do you say? A realist, I would say.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm probably going to jail, and everyone was telling me, nah, it'll be fine. You're probably not going to jail. You've never done anything wrong before. And I was like, I'm probably going to jail.
That's very zen of you to live in the realization that you could lose everything. I think that's very zen, and that maybe prepared you for what happened.
I think it's actually more stoic than zen.
That's true.
I like both schools of thought. Anyway.
Ooh, Kyle, do I see you starting to assemble your own throne?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
Saul. So I went lawyer shopping, and the first lawyer I called. Oh, okay. So I got one lawyer's number from the actual parole office place. So that's a pretty good hustle they're running there.
Wow. Way to talk about. Oh, I have a bubble in my throat.
Burp it.
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. That's.
I hate that.
I love the way it sounds and the way it feels. Anyway, sorry, that's a good path line. That makes sense for them.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what he specializes in. I think I just took his card out of my wallet like 2 days ago. I've had it in there the whole time. I don't know why, because it's not like he could do anything for me here in Kentucky. But
your totem.
Yeah,
it keeps you safe.
It was a really nice card when I first got it too. It's been through some stuff though, but it's nice and thick. It's a good card.
Is it laminated with a?
No. It's just quality cardboard. But specializes in this thing. Specializes in kids coming down to the Hangout Music Festival, them getting caught, and them getting hit with a very large fine and potentially years of prison. So this is what he does. So he pretty much has the whole process down to
Preys on the fear of people of victimless crimes.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, I really like this guy. I mean, despite him being expensive, I'm pretty sure that's just a lawyer thing, not a him thing. But I don't want to say his name, what he goes by, but it's comical.
Oh, man, this is be a great opportunity to talk about a lawyer jokes. Like, what's the difference between a lawyer and a mosquito?
What?
A mosquito quits sucking your blood after you die. Hold on.
What else you got?
All right, continue.
Okay, so this man, I don't want to say his name, but he has what you would call, let's say, if you think of like a middle school baseball team, it's like a nickname they would give someone on their team. Okay, not a reputable lawyer. Okay,
the Tiger Stripes.
Yeah, sure. We'll call him Tiger.
Okay. Why are you not? You don't want to name?
Yeah, I don't want to name drop him.
Okay.
Because I'm about to talk a little bit of shit. So,
okay, I got you.
And he might know someone that could sue me.
Yeah, him. He knows the law. You're receiving an invoice from me. I'm the man suing you.
So, call him up. And he was actually the first person that, I mean, everyone was reassuring that it was going to be okay. But when he said it, I was like, oh, things might be okay. Because, again, he knows the law. And he was like, yeah, you probably, since you haven't been in any trouble, you're probably just going to pay a bunch of money and live a very different life for a little bit. 6 months originally is what he said.
Oh, I remember that when that was the beginning and you were like, this isn't
I was
so
like,
bad.
are you serious? 6 whole months? You mean I can't drink or do drugs or travel for 6 months? Oh my God, my life is over.
I remembered that.
That was 3 years ago.
I was waiting for the timestamp.
So, he was like, he walked me through the whole process, and he's like this older, soft-spoken man, very calming. And I was like, this guy, and his receptionist, great, nice lady.
Wow.
Old lady,
Should
super
leave
cool.
a Google review.
What?
Should leave a Google review.
I might, if they have Google in Alabama. I don't even know.
Sorry. That is true. I put the cart way before that horse.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So I talked to him. He taught me through the whole process, what we were going to go through. He actually told me how I got caught. And he said it was more than likely a guy up on a roof with binoculars, because they have really tall buildings in Bay Minette, right by this beach. Guy up on a roof
and everything.
Yeah, a guy up on the roof with binoculars, just eyeing down the crowd, watching for someone to like adjust something in their nature's pocket, or just what they were wearing. And I was wearing a scarf on a beach, so they picked me out real quick.
They're like, this man not only has drugs and does drugs, but he probably makes drugs.
Yeah,
and he probably, that seems so. I'm gonna say it. It seems so Orwellian to me that they would just identify people, and I mean,
that's called profiling.
Well, it is called profiling, and it's a really, I guess from their strategy, from their financial perspective, it's a smart way to make your quota, because they're like, this funky fella's jiving on in. Let's go ahead. He's got to have something.
I would say from the amount of money they got from me and the amount of people that get caught there, we probably fund their entire police force in that one weekend. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. So, walked me through everything, assuring me everything's going to be great. I was like, that's awesome. And he was like, all right, so my fee for doing all this will be about $5,000. And I was like, I've got like $25 right now.
As you can tell, I'm a drug-addled hippie. I have a half-eaten grilled cheese sandwich and 13 grains of sand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he was like, well, we can figure something out. And I was like, I'm going to call you back. And so then I called another lawyer, and this man took the opposite approach. And he was like, he took down all my information and stuff, and he was like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to fight him on this. And I was like, what? And they're like, we have to figure out if they had probable cause to pull you, that we can argue that they shouldn't have even done anything. And I was like, they definitely had probable cause to pull me because they were right. I had this stuff on me. I was like, listen, I'm more of the thought that I need to roll over and take this rather than fight the government on this thing that I clearly did. And he was like, no, that's the wrong approach. We're gonna fight you out of this. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna call you back. And then I called Tiger back and was like, what? How do we do this?
Tiger, this other guy wants to be really aggressive, and he seems to think that I wasn't in the wrong. Is this how law works?
Yeah. So he was great. Let me set up a payment plan. I think I initially paid him like $1,500, and then like payments of like $200 a month until I was done with that. Yeah, so it was a lot. And then
I guess it's good that they're willing to work with you, though.
Yeah, because if you think about it, this is where he gets like this is his main market. He's used to dealing with broke hippies like me or trust fund kids, so he probably gets plenty of money given to him up front from the trust fund kids. But he went and got a deal done. I put deal in quotation marks. Some deal done with the DA where he was going to put me in this thing called drug court, which is basically you sign this paper.
Is that technically a pretrial diversion?
Yes, that's exactly what it is, but they call it drug court. You sign a piece of paper saying that you're guilty, that you did this, and the deal is basically when you finish their drug court, it's going to get erased from your record and you will not have a felony, all this good stuff. But the drug court is very strict. You have to drug test as much as they want you to randomly. If you get in any more trouble, depending on how strict they want to be, they can immediately void the deal. And because you signed this saying that you're guilty, you can't fight it anymore. So if they wanted to, if I got a speeding ticket over the last 2 years, they could have voided the deal and had me hauled back to Alabama and tried me for this drug charge.
Can you imagine getting dragged from your house for a speeding charge back to Alabama?
Yes, I can. I thought about it a lot. Remember the whole...
keeps me up at night.
Used to. But it didn't happen because I am a very safe driver.
You have become an a model citizen, the apotheosis of civility.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's all going out the window now.
Welcome back to being off the wagon, baby.
Cheers. All right. We're drinking right now, just so you know. So, set all that up. He told me, so after he set all that up, he was like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter this in to the court. I'm going to get this deal done with the DA, and then I'll go to court for you. You probably won't even have to come down here again, and then I'll let you know what's going on from there. And I was like, cool. Calls me up like, oh, I forgot about this. He called me up one day, like on a Monday, because in my mind I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to have to go back down to Alabama, but there's a chance that I'm going to have to. He called me up on a Monday and he was like, hey Kyle, we have a court date. And I was like,
the one thing you said wasn't going to happen?
I was like, we have a court date? And he was like, yeah.
Like we have a date with Destiny court date, or like you and me romantic, or is this like a legal thing?
He was like, yeah, have we not talked since this was set up? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh. And I said, when's the court date? And he said, Wednesday, 2 days from then. And I was like, so not only am I in another state, I have work every one of these days, and I've done a very good job at hiding this problem from them. More on that later. So he was like, okay, that's no problem. We'll just postpone it. We'll sign something to get it postponed. And I was like, man, we're going to postpone this another week. I'm going to be on this thing for 6 months and a week. This is terrible.
Oh, how naive, Kyle.
I know. I believed the good law, man.
You were a young summer child.
So got it postponed, drove down there, went into the court. Got to meet him face to face the first time. He was exactly what I expected. Cool dude.
El Tigre?
Yeah. So then he hands me this big old packet that has all this stuff where I sign it saying I'm pleading guilty and all this. And it said, pretrial deferment program, 5 years. And I was like, hey, Tiger, you remember when you said it'd be 6 months? And he was like, oh, yeah. He was like, don't worry about this. He says it says 5 years. That's the length of the program, but no one does that. All you have to do is be clean for about 6 months, and we'll take it in front of the judge and argue that you should be off of it. I always get everyone off in 6 months. And I was like, okay.
Have no reason to doubt him so far.
Yeah, I was like, this all sounds great, and I literally have no other option. Because I was kind of hesitant at that point. I was like, but it says 5 years. And he was like, he could see me kind of like questioning things, and he was like, Kyle, I strongly recommend you take this deal. And I was like, okay. So I signed it. Went in there.
Do you know about plea bargains and plea deals?
Yeah.
Do you know, so I just watched the documentary 13th because I think that's I didn't know about this because obviously I have no legal input. I don't know anything about the law. And, and what's interesting is that they will give people a plea deal up front, and they'll say, look, we haven't done anything. We don't know, but we assume here's what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. You can either agree that you're guilty and take what we agree to give you, or we can, even if you're innocent, we can run through this entire process, run up all these fees, and they can find something or anything, and you can double or triple your time.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Did you never knew about that?
No.
No, that's like
I mean, I've always heard that, but I didn't know that was like part of the legal process.
Oh yeah, there's tons of people that have pled guilty to crimes.
Yeah, that they didn't do because and that's what they talk about in 13 and other documentaries about, I'm not going to try to remember the different individuals, but they were a minority and they were they were given there was no evidence, but they said, look,
continue.
You can either take this plea deal and we'll give you what we think you deserve, or you can fight this, and even if you're innocent, it'll be a big issue and you'll get way longer. Then That's crazy. That's not justice.
No, it's making the DA's job easier.
Ugh. Anyway,
yeah.
I just had to get that out there. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's basically what I did, except for.
Well, in this case,
there was I don't think there was any chance that if it went to court, I would have. The only chance I would have had is if I said no to this and it went to court, that the cop that pulled me didn't show up for court that day. Because I think at that point they have to throw it out, even though they have the evidence, because they kept the evidence. They kept my sticker. They didn't give it back.
Hey, buddy, we know life is pretty hard for you right now. Enjoy these stickers while you're incarcerated.
Throw this on your tongue, mate.
While you're incarcerated. Have fun while you're in jail.
That would have actually been a better. That's what my punishment should have been. They should have locked me up and put me in a room and gave me my sticker. And then at the end of those 12 hours, I had served my sentence.
Wow. That is traumatic.
I would have took that over what I had.
Oh, okay.
It's not like what I had was that traumatic, but it was just so long. It feels like 3 years wasted. Anywho, went into court. I've never been in a court like that before. Hearing the judge just talk all this legal like jargon and stuff. I was in there where there was like real like prisoners in cuffs in there and shit. I saw this one guy threaten a lawyer while I was in there. It was really cool.
Is cool the word that we're using?
Yeah.
Okay. It was dope.
And so the lawyer was saying, he was like talking, or not the lawyer, sorry, the judge was, I mean, he had done this a million times a day for the last probably 30 years. So he's just like speeding through the legal mumbo jumbo, and I can't even keep up with what he's saying. And he turns to me and he's like, how do you plead? And I did that classic look over at my lawyer with the question mark. And he leaned over and went, guilty. And I said, guilty.
You got to have those famous court moments.
I did, because I was like, I never questioned it until that point, and then I was like, well, am I technically, am I pleading guilty, or am I saying not guilty because I'm doing this drug court thing? If I'm supposed to say not guilty and then I say guilty, are they going to haul me off in a gotcha moment, and then I'm in jail for 20 years?
I love that. I think that they're under those circumstances. I mean, and the thing is that you were clearly like, you had a substance, and we've talked about that, but it's just funny that you're like, well, maybe.
It's like, what do I do?
Maybe. Well, I said I was sorry.
Yeah.
Are we all good? State of Alabama?
So, there was that. And then after that, that was it. He was like, all right, I sentenced you to drug court, blah, blah, blah. Don't fuck up. And then walked out of there. He was like, he took me down to the office. My lawyer took me down to another courthouse office, and he was walking me through what I was going to do next. He was like, all right, you're going to go up to this lady, you're going to pay this fee, you're going to get signed up for this, and you're going to go across the street to the color code program, which is basically their drug testing thing, and get signed up for that. And he was like, all right, now this lady you're about to deal with, she's a bit of a cunt.
Did he really? Yeah. LT great. He's still got the eye of the tiger.
Oh yeah, he was like, she's a bit of a cunt. She's just a miserable person. Don't let her get to you. And he was like, I got another client right now, and he shook my hand. He just goes, good luck to you. And I was like, thanks. I'll be calling you later this month for that $200 payment.
He gave you the benefit. He was like, listen, you're gonna hate this.
Yeah,
she sucks.
So I walked up.
What a professional.
I walked up to her, and she can't confirm was a cunt, but no big deal.
Cunt confirmed.
Yeah, I paid her $500 or something. I had to pay her, and then she walked me through what I had to do from there on out, which was every month I had to call and pay the court $100, and then I had to pay my monitoring fee. Yeah, my monitoring fee, which is basically my parole officer. They were very against calling it parole or parole officers. Like, everything was monitoring, and like they said, you're not on parole, you're just being monitored, all this stuff. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's a pretrial
I
maybe because
so.
if you're on parole, you've been accused
I
of
guess
the drug.
So,
maybe
yeah.
I
think parole is after you get released from prison. Like, you're convicted, you're released. But it was basically that. So I was paying a monitoring fee of $100 every month, and paying the court $100 every month, and paying my lawyer $200 every month. So shit was adding up quick. And so she walked me through all that. I went across the street, got set up on the color code thing, which is basically every morning when I wake up, I call a number, and they have a list of colors that they read off for that day. And if my color gets called, I have to go pee that day. Okay. And here,
they could have just called all the colors yellow.
All right, you're yellow.
Sorry, that's low hanging fruit. Sorry.
That's funny. So, here's where the fun story begins. So, to discuss this, we have to go back a bit.
Oh, here, I'll provide some flashback sounds.
Nice.
We're in the past now.
All right. So, my whole life, since I was a wee little boy, I have had what is considered a shy bladder, which...
From what you've told me, I don't think your bladder is shy. I think your bladder is terrified.
It is. It is terrified. It's not like, oh, man, people are around.
Like, with a little enthusiasm and pep, it'll get out there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I lock down. It's like if I put a gun to your head right now and was like, speak Mandarin fluently, that it'd be like that, but telling me.
Can you hear the sound of your tiny urethra slamming shut?
No. It's like I literally forget how to pee when people are around.
Oh.
It's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, none of this would be...
Sorry, I don't know if your urethra is tiny. I didn't mean to say that. I mean your urethra. I'm sorry, Kyle.
Thank you.
Continue.
My urethra was offended.
I said I was sorry.
Well,
based on the way we've talked about law, am I not? Is the adjudication over? Am I not free?
All right,
vindicated.
So, none of this would be a problem, except us criminals have gotten crafty over the years and have learned how to get past drug tests pretty easily.
We criminals.
We've learned how to get past drug tests pretty easily, and that's sneaking a bottle of pee into the place with you and pouring it in. So now, when they really want to make sure you're being honest about it, they do what's called an observed urine test, and that is
OUT.
they hire a man to come in and stare at your dick while you pee and make sure that it is indeed your dick.
You didn't find. It's like in the airport. Has your dick been with you the entire time you've been on the premises? Do not leave your dick unattended.
Yeah, basically. And
they're like, all right, pull up those pubes. Let me see it connects to the base. Oh, yep. All right. You're cleared.
Yep. As someone with a shy bladder, this was horrifying.
If you can't do the time, don't do the crime, Kyle.
I literally looked it up after the first time I went. So I always knew I had a shy bladder, but unless you are in this situation, you can pretty much avoid any problems with it. If someone's around, you hold it until they're not. But in this situation, that was not an option. So my first time going, I had to find.
Go ahead.
I had to find a place here in Louisville that gave observed urine tests.
Outs. It's really funny that it's called an OUT or an out whenever they're very much in your space. They're very much there. They're very much in.
So I had to call up here to this place, and lady answered. I asked to do an observed urine test. She was like, yeah, but you have to make an appointment. And I was like, okay.
Oh, you had to schedule a time for a man to look at your business
every day. And here's another bitch.
That's an honor. I don't ever get people. I can never schedule time to get people to look at my business.
For $15, you can call up this place. I know a guy.
I'm gonna need that number.
Okay. Actually, I don't know if he's still alive. More on that later.
The plot is there's some hidden depths here.
Yeah, I forgot how deep this runs. So called up here. She was like, you have to make an appointment. And I was like, okay, I'm figuring this all out the first day that I called and my color got plumbed. By the way, my color was plum.
Correct.
Which I didn't know was a color. I thought that was a fruit. But
it's like a light purple.
Yeah.
Or a dark purple. Actually a dark purple, I think. Plum.
Okay. So got plumbed. Called up here. She was like, okay, you're going to have to make an appointment. I was like, all right, I'm going to need one of those ASAP. And she was like, okay, let me see what I can do. I'll call you back. And I was like, what does that mean? So on top of this, I'm supposed to work this day. They open at 9 o'clock. I go into work at 11 o'clock. Up until this point, I have been very good about not telling anyone at work that any of this happened. I was trying to keep this very
that's your
secret.
That's like a scarlet turd stain.
Yeah, except there were a couple of hippies that went with me that worked there, but I could trust them. They were cool. But I hadn't let anyone in management know. At this point, I was still just a wee little zip guide. It wasn't in management at all yet. So I'm waiting by the phone, waiting for like 30 minutes, waiting for like an hour. Finally, she calls me back, and she was like, yeah, I can't get anyone in here until 2, so I'll get you in at 2. And I was like, there's no way I can't get this done earlier because I have work. And she was like, nope, that's when I can get someone in. And I was like, okay. So I
kind of really need someone to look at my cock right now.
Yeah.
Kind of really need that.
Yeah. So I just called in late for work, made up some excuse. Or actually, I just called in for the day because I was like, I don't know if 2 is even going to work. So went in there at 2. It's this tiny little building, like is a little section of a building. Walked in. Meet this lady that I talked to on the phone. She's the owner of the place. She's like a urinalysis person. What are they called?
I think that's right.
Okay. So after talking to her for 5 minutes, I could tell that she has done way more drugs than me in her life.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. She was a hippie. She probably...
Sheep and wolves clothing.
Oh, yeah.
That's
she
amazing.
Probably went to Woodstock, man. Like
she was older and just...
Yeah. And, I mean, she was really cool. I told her what happened, and I was still like... kind of this was like a couple months after this happened, but I don't think my brain had yet fully recovered from the large amount of stickers I was doing at that time. So my brain was still a little loopy. I was still a little out of it. And she sat down with me because we were still waiting on him to get there because he was late. She sat down with me and she was just going over everything. She was like, I was just making small talk at this point because it was just me and her in this little building. It wasn't like a corporation. It was like her own place. She was talking to me about like what happened while I was here, all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, music festival in Alabama. And she was like, oh, the Hangout Fest? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, we get 2 or 3 people a year coming in here for that. And I was like, that's great. Wow. She was like, yeah, they are terrible there in Alabama, aren't they? And I said, yes, they are. And she was like, so what'd they get you for, speeding? And I said, no, drugs.
That's why I have to pee. I need a pissman.
No, but About 7 months later, I realized she meant, did I get pulled over on the way down there? And they they searched me.
Oh,
and I was like, no, do they make you do drug court for speeding?
That's what I was just.
So after I said that, she just looked at me and went. She didn't say it, but the look in her eye was, "You're not going to pass today, are you?"
Oh, it's cool to meet a kindred spirit in a foreign hostile land.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that was kind of a nice experience. So she was probably
Why, for shame she couldn't be your pissman.
Yeah, that's the thing. She wasn't a min, so that's
Gotcha.
I would have allowed it, but she might not have been comfortable with it.
Obviously, no. I understand why that is but
yeah,
that would have been.
So then I get to meet my pissman. So she's about 50 years old, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe late 50s, maybe 60. She's older. Turns out the pissman's her dad. This man is late 80s.
She's baby pissman. He's daddy pissman.
Yeah. This man comes walking in, glasses on. Just imagine a very old man. All right. He walks in. She's like, all right, this is Kyle. He's going to be peeing. And he was like, all right. Walk in there. He's like, wash your hands. And I was like, I haven't peed yet. He was like, wash your hands. And I was like, all right. So I washed my hands. You do that to get like any contaminants off before you handle it, because they're going to hand you the cup and you pee into it. He opens up the cup, gives it to me, and I pull her out. And he was like,
a lady.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very progressive. My penis is a lady too. Her name is Charlotte. I'm not joking.
Okay, I am. Mine's not a lady. Mine is a man.
Oh, well. Okay, well, you're alive.
My penis has the anatomy of a man. Pull him out. I meant pull him out, like pull her out like a gun. I don't know. Maybe I did refer to it as a girl, but
good for you, buddy.
What?
Keep going.
So I pull my penis out of its holster, and he goes, "Nope."
What?
And that was my reaction. I said, "What do you? Is this?"
Just no.
It's like, have I been lied to my whole life? Is this not?
Yeah, I mean your other penis.
Is this not indeed the instrument you're looking for?
Oh, that's funny.
And he goes, no. He said, pull your pants down to your ankles and pull your shirt up. So here I was.
Mr. Cockman does not dick about.
No, ironically.
He knows all the tricks.
So here I am, standing like a second grader learning to use a urinal, pants around my ankles, holding my shirt up above my nipples while holding this cup. And that's when I remember I have a terrified bladder.
Oh no, we're back in the future now. All right, we're back in the future.
Yeah.
Or in the present.
Yeah. So
oh man, that is so funny. I love it. At least you didn't poop in the urinals. I knew some people that not that I was one of them, but I knew a few portable poopers.
Gross.
So this man just screamed, "No, it's your penis," made you pull down so you're a second grader peeing in, and now you've got the green light.
Yeah.
Okay.
From him, but not from my bladder.
Oh, okay.
So I was hoping, when I heard this was an observed urine test, I was hoping, you're at a urinal, he's standing behind you, some privacy. This man is standing directly next to me, eye to eye with my cock. Like, he's not like down there.
He's not on eye level, but he's
staring at my dick. Like, and I'm like, this is uncomfortable to say the least.
I feel like if I would ever be put in that situation, I could not resist the urge to be like, so you've done this a while. Like, what do you think? Am I doing okay? Like, or you could be like, watch this, and then like do a trick with it or something, turn it into a bow tie.
Well, it might have been funny if he wasn't a fucking 80-something-year-old man. I was afraid to give him a heart attack.
I've never seen such cock wizardry.
You're also a war veteran, I learned later.
Oh, God, that man has seen way more than just your business.
Oh, yeah. So, anyway, I stand here. If you can imagine not being able to pee while someone is waiting on you to pee, like, their whole job is to watch you pee. while your pants are around your ankles and your shirt's above your nipples. And
that must have been like the Olympics for you. You must have been like center stage.
Dude, it was terrible. Like everything slowed down. It felt longer than it actually was. And this isn't like we went to the back room. This was like a shitty little building. So like where I just did all the paperwork with her, it's literally 2 steps away from the room we're in. And it's like the walls are paper thin and everything. And she just like, I was in there for like 5 minutes. She's like, "Do you need some water?" And I was like, "Yes." And so he was like, "All right, well, we're going to have to start over." And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, we haven't made any progress." So
you start over from zero.
I put everything away, went out,
tucked her back away,
drank some water. And I'm just sitting here slugging water. And she's like, "You can't have too much water."
Oh, it'll dilute.
Yeah. And I was like, "Okay." And so I drank water for like 30 minutes, sitting there waiting. And I'm like, "Okay, I think I can go now." And she's like, "All right, start the whole routine again.
Wash your hands."
Couldn't go. So.
Did you communicate to him like,
yeah,
my bladder is like a nun in Las Vegas?
Yeah. And he was like, "Well," that was it. So went for my third water session. And I was like, "Can I like just like go walk around the block or something, try to get things moving?" And I think that like once you come in and you sign it or something, they're like not allowed to let you out of their sight. So she was like, this is how nice she was. She was like, "Yeah, I'll come with you." And I was like, "What?" And so me and this lady took a walk around the block and just talking, and it was really cool. And then it started raining on us, which
probably making sure you weren't going to scoop your Mountain Dew bottle of piss off the side of the street on your way back.
And do what with it? Stick it in my dick?
Chug that and pee that instead.
So I got back in there for the third time. And
fourth time.
Still nothing happening. And I'm like, all right. I was like, I've got to do this. Like, there's no option. Like, if I don't do it, it's not like
what level of exertion did you attempt? Like, were you straining? Like, you were?
I tried everything. I tried like
this
was before
pelvic floor exercises.
Yeah, this was before I like really got into meditating. So I was trying to relax, and that didn't work. And then I was squeezing as hard as I could, like whatever the fuck you squeeze to make yourself pee, and nothing was happening.
Floor.
Yeah, the pelvic floor. Nothing was happening, dude. Not even a squirt. So I was like, this is terrible. And I was like, it's not like you can just call up a number and be like, "Hey, I couldn't pee today." They'll be like, "Okay, come on back to jail." They're not going to be like, "Oh, we
come
understand."
on back to jail.
They're not going to be like, "Oh, we understand. You can do it tomorrow." So I was like, I'm going to be real with you, man. I don't know how long this is going to take. And he was like, "All right." And I was like, "You can see I don't have anything on me." I was like, I'm going to go ahead and sit down. That was like, I'm going to take the only control that I have in this situation. So I sat down on the toilet and then I peed.
Oh.
So
way to go, buddy.
For the next 3 years, I sat on that toilet and peed.
Did he still have to do the look over, like the once over of you?
He just stood in front of me and looked at my dick.
Oh,
but
okay.
I found my hack.
Oh, that's awesome.
Also, after that,
you would have think that he could have provided some type of like, listen, I see a lot of people like this. Try position number 3.
This was all he had to laugh at. He enjoyed this. The other guy, there were 2 guys there. The other dude was super cool. The other dude, he was a little younger than him. And when he would come in, he wouldn't even look at me. He would give me the thing and just look out the window. Go just like that. No problem. This man made it a point to stare at my dick. The first dude. He's
a veteran. He is a man of integrity.
Yeah. So my little trick for getting this to work though, costed me because this man, the old man, he would always forget my name. She'd be like, "Kyle's coming in, blah blah blah," and he's like, "Okay, cool." Because I mean, I knew them all after 3 years of this, and so he'd
Good
come
to see
in,
you, Chris.
Yeah, he'd come in and he wouldn't know who it was, and then he'd see me and he goes, "Oh, Sitting Sam, come on in."
Oh my God, you guys had a thing. You had a connection.
Yeah.
Oh, you weren't just a number to him. You were S squared.
Sitting Sam. Yep. And he would always go through the same 5 questions.
Maybe you shouldn't say the SS to him if he was in World War II.
And he'd always go through the same 5 questions. He'd be like, "You working outside today?" And I'm like, "Not once." I work.
Pretty much in bed all day.
He's like, "Oh, it's good weather. It's raining." Trying to make small talk. So, then the C word happened, right?
Oh yeah.
And I stopped going there because, first of all, everything was shut down for that like month or two, like in Kentucky, to where like all those places were closed. Yeah. And so whenever my color would get called, because Alabama, they shut everything down for about 3 days and then opened back up because they listened to our president and believed that it wasn't real. Yep. So
bleach on deck in the veins.
Super smart. So everything was shut down here. So I got off the hook for like 2 months. I definitely could have been drinking and doing everything, but I played it super safe. I was like, I'm not gonna. Oh, yeah, by the way, they test for alcohol, too, in that. So I'm literally completely sober for these 3 years.
Yep.
So
can confirm.
So one day, everything starts opening back up. And I called up there because my color got called. And she was like, no, we're not doing the observed urine test. We're trying to figure out how to do it because both of them were very old. And you have to be like within 6 feet. Like that's why I'm like, he could definitely be dead right now because he was starting to decline pretty bad before COVID. Like I could tell, like his same 5 questions were turned into like the same 4 questions on repeat.
Oh,
yeah, I know, but
it's hard watching the decline of a Cockman.
It is. I've never been that close to a Cockman before, but
nor had he to a cock.
Might be true. So then, I called up them in Alabama and I was like, hey, my place still is closed. And they're like, well, you need to call everyone in the state and see if you can find a place. And I was like, I need to call every drug testing place in the state. And they said, yeah. And Indiana, too. You're close to there.
Oh
and I was like, thanks for the help. So it just so happened the very next place I called was open. And they had their own Cockman on staff.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Hit the lottery of Cockman.
Yeah. And this was 2 years into this. Oh, I didn't explain. We'll go back to that later.
Okay.
This is 2 years into this. So I'm almost done here. I'm in a good routine. I come in, pop a squat on the toilet. Within 5 minutes, I produce a good pee, right? So as I go into this new place, I realize I'm going to have to try to explain this wacky routine to this brand new guy.
This wacky routine.
Yeah. And so I meet him. I'm like, all right, so you're the Cockman.
Hey, it's Sitting Sam.
Oh, dude. That would have been so easy if he just picked that right up. I would have been like, sweet, I don't need to do this. And I was like, okay. So I walk in here. He gives me the thing, and I'm like, all right, this is going to sound weird. Can I sit down on the toilet and pee? And he looked at me, and everyone's wearing a mask now, so I just see his eyes get real big, and he goes, just don't poop.
That has to be an occupational hazard for them.
It does.
Oh my God. I do not want That's such a legitimate question, though. Like, I
know.
mean, there's a lot of humanity there, and I love that. But it's like that is such a fair question. That's such a fair stipulation on his end.
Yeah,
because you can just imagine people coming in there like, oh, I can't pee unless I'm dumping logs, and they just have to sit there and endure someone else's fecal matter in the air. Oh God!
But then that put even more pressure on me because I was like, oh my God, what if I got to poop? This is going to be terrible.
I'm going to violate this. This is just an awful start to a cock relationship.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm going to find a new cock guy. So, he was cool with it. Peed for this man several times.
Oh, that's called, in the ABA world, that's called generalization of a skill. You were able to generalize it to a novel environment.
Yeah, so I guess I had, in my lifetime, I've had 3 Cockmen.
That is more than I think most men, women, and children ever get to have.
Yeah, I don't know why you're still framing it as a good thing.
It's the American excess. It's the surplus. It's the surfeit. You are living the dream, my friend.
So this dude was really cool, this last guy. He was more of like our age. He was probably like mid-30s, maybe late 30s. That's almost our age. That's almost. A lot closer than the other 2. Those
Correct.
were outliers.
Yeah,
so like, me and this guy would actually talk about shit while he was like doing my paperwork and stuff, and just like banter back and forth, like just about stuff. And I was like, this is a cool dude. And I was like, if things keep going this way and I have to stay on this program, how do I convey that we should hang out without it seeming gay after this man's been staring at my dick for a year?
Hey man, you want to do this you want to do this without my cock and without a bathroom? Like, You want to do that?
You want to have meaningful conversation? We can smoke weed if you're if you're into that. Do you get drug tested? Do you ever?
We don't have to poop. Nobody will poop. I promise you.
Do they make you look at your own dick and pee?
Man, you must be a supervisor. That is such responsibility.
They let you do this alone. Oh, okay. So
my God.
I like this dude a lot. Super cool until the very last time I went in there, and I didn't know it was going to be my last time.
I'm sorry to hear that.
You just wait. So got in there, gave him the sample, sitting there. And for those of you that don't know, as if we have any outside listeners that aren't in Louisville, Kentucky, there have been a lot of protests
our
here
international
lately.
Listeners.
Yeah, for all those in China. There have been a lot of protests in downtown Louisville specifically lately. And it's very... half the people are like, oh, this is a great thing. There's progressive trying to...
in the city, which is a blue county, which most cities are blue because they tend to be progressive intellectual. People with degrees tend to, in the business, people tend to flock to cities. I would say it's still,
And then there's the other side that says that they're violent rioters who are burning down the city. They just want to cause mayhem, all this stuff. I am of the progressive side. This is just fine, as are 90% of the people I know. So we're sitting there, and he was like, this was the reason there's these protests is because Breonna Taylor was killed, and it just so happened this day, the day that I went in there to pee, they were supposed to announce the verdict on the cops that did it the day before, but they didn't. And I didn't know why. And then he told me, he was like, they're going to announce it today. And I was like, oh, weren't they supposed to announce it tomorrow or yesterday?
Yeah, because they began the process of putting the city center under a state of emergency, and they were cordoning off the roads, and everything was locked down.
They didn't do it the day before because the National Guard couldn't get in there in time. And I was like, well, that's kind of revealing to what they're going to say.
Yeah, we all were like, I wonder why their game plan is so pro, or why they're doing this a week in advance.
Yeah. And he was like,
now we know.
Yeah, I was like, so it's probably pretty clear what they're going to say then, huh? And he was like, I welcome it. He was like, bring them all in, mow down all these criminals.
Oh, God.
And that's when I realized we couldn't be friends.
Jesus Christ. What a terrible way to end a cock relationship.
I know.
And I'm not just trying to make a cheap joke at it. I mean, that's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
God, that's like... You weren't just like casually meeting up with this, this dude playing sports or playing video games or talking. You were sharing there's a level of true vulnerable intimacy there. And then for him to violate that with his prejudiced, inane, conservative BS.
I wouldn't say vulnerable intimacy in that way. I mean, I don't think that it's not like he was my dick advocate.
He wasn't your dick
He was
consult.
just making sure I didn't bring in a bag of someone else's pee.
Oh, okay.
But...
God, that sucks.
Yeah. So
how are you going to hang out without pooping together now?
We're not. And it just so happened I never saw him again. Walked out that building.
It's for the fucking best.
Got a call a few weeks later because I didn't know when. I mean, it could be out of the 20-something days in a week because they never called colors on the weekends on Saturday and Sunday. So Monday through Friday, 4 times a week, averages out to 20 or 5 times a week. It's too much. It's too much bourbon. I'm drunky.
I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't following the math, so I don't even know what to correct you on. I was like, okay, Matt, what numbers?
So
I like 5.
Yeah, 5's a nice round number.
Yeah, it is.
So 20 times a week, I would average 2 times a week, sometimes or 2 times a month. Sorry, my color plum would get called 2 times a month. So I would just put it on the calendar when I actually got called, and I would know if I'd been called twice, then I probably wasn't going to get called again for the rest of the month, and it would put my mind at ease. But I still had to call. So we got 3 weeks into the next month, and my color still hadn't got called, and I was like, great, I'm going to get plumbed twice in the last 3 days of the month.
Got plumbed.
Which is the worst, man. Knowing that you're going to get called 2 days in a row, I hate that shit. So...
Well, I know that you haven't really talked about this, but one of the reasons that it's so aversive and unpleasant is that you, in order to counteract the sit and pee maneuver, the savage maneuvers, we'll call it now. You had to wait in the morning. Like you would wake up with a bladder full of piss, and then you would have to hold that until you had the opportunity to have a Cockman.
Yeah, no, I had to be full, or I would not produce a sample.
Oh, you did that to tip the scales in your favor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, I didn't have to do. It didn't need to like be the first piss of the day for it to work.
Okay.
I just had to be overflowing with piss. I had to give my body. I couldn't give my body any excuse to not piss. So sometimes the colors would be reset at like 3 a.m. and I could call up there and hear about it because I would wake up in the middle of the night every night, like at 3 or 4 a.m. and call. I had having to pee, and I'd call up there, and if my color didn't get called, I would just go have a very nice relieving pee. But then if my color did get called, I would just be laying there having to piss all night long trying to sleep, and then call up there and then not let me in until 2. That sucked. There was one time in particular that I did that, called in the morning, called at like 2 in the morning, color got called, and then called the office when they woke up, or when they opened. And she couldn't get me in until the afternoon, but I had to go to work. Like, I couldn't call in this day because I had to do something. I was taking out tours or something. And so I had to do, like, 1 or 2 whole zip tours, full bladder, knowing I had to run to this place and pee halfway through.
That sounds like hell.
Yeah. Sure was. Luckily, I'm a camel, and I can hold it forever, as you know, after this weekend.
Yeah, which is Kyle and I just visited a friend. I always say, dude, it doesn't matter where it is on the continental United States. I say down. Like, we're going down to Michigan. Yeah. We're going down to Montana, and or down to, Oregon or wherever, whatever's on the West Coast. And, we just went down to North Carolina and saw a friend. And it's an 8.5-ish hour drive. And Kyle did not pee one time on the way back. You did on the way down.
No, the other way around.
You broke
I did
edge.
on the way back. I didn't.
Oh, okay. You broke edge on the way back.
Yeah, because I was going to, and then I went in there, and there was a line, and I was like, I can hold it.
I can endure this.
I can wait 8 more hours.
Trauma. I cannot, man. Like, I pee like probably 30 times a day.
Are you serious?
I can't enjoy anything if I have to void. Like, if I sit down to a meal, I can't enjoy it. If I sit down to a movie, if I sit down to work on the computer, to play video games, to do anything, if there's an iota, just a milliliter of urine or feces, I cannot enjoy what I'm doing.
Interesting.
Yep.
I can hold it indefinitely, I think.
I don't know how.
I don't mean either. I mean, I could do this before I exercised my bladder these last 3 years, but I don't know.
So what was the point when you realized that your 6 months turned into?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We're gonna revisit. So originally the lawyer was like, I know it's a 5-year program. Don't listen to that. It's just gonna be 6 months. We'll get you right off. And I was like, okay, cool. So I called him up to make a payment like five months in. After I got back doing all this stuff, and I asked to talk to him because normally I just talk to his receptionist and pay her, and everything was good. Then when we'd catch up, we'd small talk because she was super nice, super cool. But then I got on I was like, can I talk to Mr. Tiger? And she was like, yeah. And so I was like, hey there, it's Kyle, and it's been almost 6 months. I can't wait to be done. What's the next step? What do I have to do? And he was like, oh, so I know I told you 6 months.
Oh, God.
But you're going to have to call me back in about 6 more months. And I said, but why? And he said, well, we got the new DA. We just got a new DA, and she's trying to be a bit of a hard ass, and she's not cutting any deals for anyone. And I was like,
damn, so that was just completely circumstantial.
According to him, I don't know. He could have just gave me a really nice picture to begin with to get me on board to pay him because
I didn't even realize that.
Kind of the same situation happened in 6 more months, but then it was like call back in another 6 months, and then at that point I had to do these drug classes too, and I had to do 24 hours of drug classes to get off of the program.
Oh, please talk about this. I love hearing about this, about the individuals and like when you shared.
Yeah. So 24 hours of drug classes. And I was like, okay, no big deal. This will be easy. I just have to do 24 hours of drug classes. So I put it off, as I do. And I was like, I'll just do these like a month before I'm supposed to be done. So when I called him that time,
you did the equivalent of cramming for a test, but it was your life.
Yeah. Oh yeah, procrastination
that's
is a key part of my life. It doesn't stop just because things get serious. So at this 5-month mark, when I called him, I was waiting for him to be like, "Yep, 6 months. Just get those drug classes done." I was like, "Sweet, I'll just knock these drug classes out in 2 weeks." But then he was like, "Call back in 6 months," and I was like, "Damn, that sucks." But it means I can wait 5 more months for my drug class.
Oh, great! The deadline just got pushed back.
Yeah,
5 more
I was
months.
like, this is really comforting. Actually, this is a good thing. Actually, so I waited. Kind of looked into it a couple times, but I was like, this is something I'll deal with later.
I'll just put it off till went right before it could potentially adversely ruin the rest of my time here on this planet.
Yeah. So as I looked into it more and more, I realized what they were asking for was absurd. They were asking for me to do 24 hours of drug classes for getting caught with a psychedelic.
Mm-hmm.
They don't offer psychedelic drug classes in that sense.
Yeah, psychedelics have recently been used to help people cure themselves of their addiction.
Yeah, psychedelic drug classes now are using psychedelics to help you with your real problems. So I was looking for it, and literally the only things you can do like drug classes for are marijuana classes, which are absurd in their own right, or Alcohol Anonymous, which is much more of a drug, but I know that's not what they're looking for. So when I realized crunch time was approaching, oh no, they actually emailed me or called me or something. They're like, "Hey, have you done your drug classes yet?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "Well, you're up for review." Like, this is not even my lawyer anymore. Like, Alabama's calling me, telling me, "Hey, we want to get you off this program now, but you got to do these classes." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I looked into it really hardcore, couldn't find it. And so I called him up and I was like, "Hey, I don't think they offer what you want me to do in my area, because we're not coming with 1920s thinking, So I called him up and they're like, "Oh, okay, well, just figure it out." And I was like, "Sweet, I'll keep looking." Another month went by. I couldn't find anything except for marijuana classes and alcohol classes.
Do they offer marijuana specific recovery
Yes.
class? Interesting.
No, not. It's not a recovery class. It's something for court. It's a 2-hour session.
Oh, okay.
So I was trying to get the go ahead to do that, and I was going to literally do 12 2-hour classes, paying like $200 a class or whatever just to knock it out. But in the middle of all this, the C word happened and everything got shut down. So I was like, guess we're just gonna put that off again. So then when things started opening back up, and they weren't happy to hear that, I was like, literally everything's closed here. I can't do anything. And they were like, "Well, you need to." And I was like,
Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you.
State.
Thanks, Alabama.
So eventually I'm like going back and forth on emails with them when everything opened back up. And I'm like, "What do you want me to do? I can do alcohol classes or I can do marijuana classes, and there's nothing else." And so they sent me a link to something, and they were like, "This program is what you need to do at this place." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I called up that place. It's called like a Prime for Life class or something. And the name of the place is AA and Associates. So
AAA.
Yeah.
Actually, quadruple A.
AA and Associates.
Wow.
Wow. So
Premium.
Prime for Life. It's supposed to be a drug class and an alcohol class. Talked to the lady on the phone. She was like, "No, that's not what you want." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "Well, this is an alcohol class, and you're in here for drugs." I was like, "Trust me, I know. I've been having this conversation for 6 months."
Not impressed you how aware of that.
I was like, they literally sent me the link to this and said, "Do this, and I can be free." And she was like, "Well," and this lady, she was actually a very nice lady, but she was level 10 abrasive. Like, she was just over the top. The first time I called her months earlier looking into this exact thing before they even sent me this link, and she was so abrasive I just hung up the phone. I was like, I'll just go to jail. I was like, I don't want to deal with this lady.
Wow.
Turns out she's a very nice lady. She just doesn't have any social skills. But so I went in there. She was like, "Okay, come in, do some paperwork." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I got in there, explained everything again. She was like, "So what are you here for?" And I was like, "I got caught with acid in Alabama." And she was like, she put down everything and looked at me and she went, "Who does acid anymore?"
What are you, from the 60s?
And I was like, "It's a me." So the
war on drugs has failed.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah, look, it almost ruined my life. Luckily, I'm here. So
for some salvation.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So did all this paperwork. I told her the class I needed to do according to them, and she was like, "No, you don't need to do that." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "They don't know what you need. They just pawn you off onto us, and this is what you need." And so she was like, "Here's the class you can do." And I was like, "All right, cool." And the way this class was set up, they gave me, it was 3-hour sessions a week. So I would have been done in 3 to 4 weeks, something like that. And I was like, "All right, cool. So I'll be done later this month." And then she was like, "No, because of the pandemic, everything's online right now, and we're doing 45-minute sessions at a time."
Once a week.
Once a week.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, "So you're telling me this is going to take 4 months to get 24 hours? And she was like, "Well, no, once everything opens back up, like we think it will in a month, we'll go back to in-person sessions." And she sent me into this other guy to get the specifics on. I think it was her husband because they were both old. He had on these suspenders. He's real cool.
No.
I wanted to pop him really bad. So walked in there.
My dad wears suspenders.
Suspenders, I don't know. There's something about people wearing suspenders.
There is such a satisfying elastic. There's just like that pullback, that tension, and that sweet catharsis.
In my experience, 90% of the dudes I see wearing suspenders are very comforting souls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other 1% was my dad.
Oh. Sorry.
Not
buddy.
a comforting soul. It's fine. So went in there, sat him down, introduced myself. He was like, "All right, what are you in for?" I was like, "I did acid." Put everything down, looked at me. "Who does acid?"
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I got this. Anyway.
You got 2 double takes from the same company.
It was literally, it was a comedy sketch because he was like, "Who does acid?" And then from the other room, I hear her go, "Right?"
I was just telling you.
And I was like, "I don't know what to tell y'all." It happened. So he filled all that out, and I was like, "So this is gonna take 4 months." And he was like, he told me the same thing she told me. When everything opens back up, we'll be doing them more. And he was like, "And honestly, because of your circumstances, once everything opens back up, you can literally come in here every day if you want, and we'll push you right through." Because
that's so cool.
Because this is an alcohol anonymous place, and he went through.
They
like,
have people with actual chemical dependency issues.
He actually set me down and did the most productive thing of the whole thing. He went through like my whole drug history and things that I've used and all this stuff, and he determined that I indeed did not or ever had a problem. You know, he was like, "You don't need to be here," and I was like, "I know, but."
Wow.
I have
the
to.
oracle has spoken. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. I was like, "Oh, are you kidding me? I thought I was a delinquent."
Now, I will also say I can understand how people abuse. Any chemical can be abused.
Yeah.
Sugar, marijuana, anything. And marijuana is a drug. It's a tetrahydrocannabinol 9. It can be abused.
Definitely.
But, you know, if anyone had done the work to talk to you about your history, about anything, they would have very quickly seen that you are literally like a spotless little pearl, and you just have this one tiny foot of sand on you.
I was on vacation.
Who did this to me? I'm here on vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, but we did that to ourselves,
Yep.
I guess.
And it could have happened to anyone. And I'm glad it happened to me because everyone else was like kind of getting into a career, and I was just a little zipline guy. And I was like, "This is perfect."
Aww.
So, I'll get through this next part pretty quick. So then, I ended up doing this class. Surprise, surprise, the pandemic wasn't over in a month, and it did indeed take 4 months. So this was an online class over Zoom. That's the reason it was 45 minutes, because if you do more than 45 minutes, they have to pay a premium.
That's
for a
right.
subscription
Oh, that's
thing.
right. Yeah.
So we were doing this. It was literally an alcohol anonymous class. Everyone in there was there for alcohol because they actually had a real problem. They all had DUI 1, 2, or 3, or there were a couple people in there that were they got caught smoking weed, but it was still a DUI. It was like they pulled them over, thought they smelled weed in the car, tested them, and you know if you smoked weed in the last 30
If you've had a
days,
marijuana cigarette.
Yeah, this is a fun fact. If a cop pulls you over and wants to drug test you, and you smoked weed 20 days ago, and you test positive for weed, they give you a DUI. Because they can say you were under the influence right then, and they can't prove otherwise.
Wow.
Yeah, so don't ever smoke weed in a car.
Don't smoke weed and drive.
Do not. No, I'm saying like.
No, I know.
Yeah, do not ever give them an excuse to drug test you if you're driving, because you can literally get a DUI for smoking weed earlier in the month.
Wow.
Yeah. The instructor in this AA class went over that a bunch. He was like, listen, I don't care what you do. He was like, you all can drink if you want. I'm not here to tell you shouldn't drink. You can smoke as much weed as you want. Just don't do it and drive. And that's what the whole class was
You
about.
can destroy your life in your own home.
Yeah,
Don't destroy other lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and we did the whole AA thing every time. He was like, all right, everybody's going to go around the room, introduce themselves.
This is my favorite part.
Say what they're in for. So one dude's like, hey, name's Johnny. Haven't drank in 3 days. I'm in for DUI 2. License got suspended. I can't drive for 5 years. Blah blah blah. Next person, same story. Next person, same story. Got to me, and I was like, my name's Kyle. Haven't drank in 3 years. I'm here for acid.
Just the room explodes into.
No, the instructor. He started remembering me, but the first 3 times was like, guess what? Who does acid? And I was like, are you kidding me? There's people out here that do this. It just happens to be I got caught in Alabama and I live in Kentucky. Not everyone's just addicted to Jack Daniels.
Well, didn't you say that other people were would laugh and be like, really?
Yeah.
Acid?
Yeah, like, oh, acid? Why are you in here for that? And I'm like, I don't fucking know.
I would love for someone to explain that to me.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then at one point they were like, where do you even get acid? And I was like, it's not that hard to find. Pretty easy, actually. So eventually that was over. And then I got a call one day and Alabama was like, hey, you're done with your program.
I fondly remember that call.
Yeah, when I say one day, it was so long. It was literally 1 week ago today.
Mm-hmm.
They called and was like, hey, you're done with your program. And I was like, And they said,
no.
It said, no, yeah, you are. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. And they were like, so you'll be getting your paperwork in about 5 weeks. It should be mailed to you. And I was like, oh, so do I have to keep drug testing for 5 weeks? And she was like, let me check. And I was like, why do you not know this? This seems very... Why is this not the first question people ask?
Mm-hmm.
Because technically, if I failed one drug test or didn't show up to one drug test, straight back to jail.
Yep.
So I was very neurotic about it.
Absolutely.
So she was like, nope, says here your drug tests are complete and you're done with the program. And I was like, awesome. Could I get something in writing right now saying that? I was like, can you just email me?
Kind of need this sense of closure that was supposed to happen 2.5 years ago.
She said, I normally don't do that. And long pause. And I was like, I'm not breaking the silence. I was like, I'll let you continue with that. Literally, I sat there in silence for 120 seconds, 2 minutes, and I hear her typing. And I'm like, did she forget I was here? Are we going to keep playing this game of chicken until my color gets called again? And so eventually 2 minutes later, she goes, all right, I just sent you a nice informal email saying you're done. You don't have to drug test anymore. And I was like, thank you so much. So you're saying I can smoke weed now?
Is it cool for me to go back to my old ways of not harming anybody and just relaxing like everyone else does?
Can't wait to never come to your shitty state again.
So what was when you think back, well, now that you're done, when you think back over the past, 2.5 to 3 years, what was it like being felonious? Being able, because you weren't able to drive, you weren't able to drink, and I can personally attest as someone who sees you very frequently, multiple times a week, you didn't eat poppy seed, you didn't eat everything bagels because you're afraid of poppy seeds, which can signal a false positive. You didn't drink pre-workout, you didn't drink anything that had chemicals that could potentially, even vitamins.
Vitamin B6 will trigger a false positive for marijuana. I looked into all this because I was so neurotic about it, like I said, and they don't give you a list in the beginning. They're not like, hey, watch out for these things. They trigger a false positive. Literally, it's figured out on your own or fuck up and go to jail. That's what it is. Now, a counterpoint to that is that this was all done, I'm pretty sure, because this wasn't done in a lab in Alabama. I went in, they took my sample at the P place, and then they sent that to a lab in South Carolina, I believe, and then they gave the results to Alabama. So for some reason, they had this 3-way system set up. But this was a very official lab. They were handling most of the COVID tests and stuff like that. Like it's a very high like tier of labs. So there might be something which I've just learned about like in the last few months, like at a lab like this, if your like sample comes up as a positive or something, they can do another test and see if it was a false positive. I think. So
but you lived a Spartan lifestyle. I mean, you drank a lot of coffee,
which if you drink coffee the day of can be a false positive.
Oh my God.
So I wouldn't drink coffee.
No,
so
he didn't. He didn't go any stay. He avoided all these different food things that he liked. Didn't drink, even though it would have been okay. I mean, you really. I mean, it's just really awesome. You were just the resolve of this man. Like I don't know how you did it. I mean, I feel like now, in my 30s, like I imbibe and enjoy intoxicants, and there's not as many opportunities now that we're not in our 20s and friends are everywhere. We're all seeing each other all the time. Not in school. There's not the social network and the populousness of it is definitely diminished, so there's not as many opportunities. But I think it'd be hard for me. Like I think that I know that in this case of life or incarceration, like you obviously had the resolve and you made the choice, but man, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean it does make the choice a lot easier when you're thinking and it wasn't just like, oh, I'll go to jail and then figure it out from there. It's like I'll go to jail and I'll have a felony on my record for the rest of my life. So literally the way I told myself was like, I mean, I can live a pure clean life for the next few years and then have the rest of my life, or I can risk it and maybe the rest of my life I'm suffering for this one little mistake. So it honestly wasn't hard after the initial like 30 days of not smoking, because like you said, you do get addicted to it. Like I wasn't like addicted, like my body was aching from not having it, but
withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah, it's like you lose when you smoke as much weed as I used to, you lose your ability to cope with things without drugs. Yep. So I didn't meditate before ever. Like that's all like this whole Zen Kyle. Like I used to be really Zen, but it was because of weed. Like this whole Zen mindset.
It was
Kyle.
Pharmaceutically, yeah. It's pharmaceutical facade.
Exactly. But this Zen Kyle you see before you today or hear before you today is a product of not being on drugs for 3 years. So unfortunately,
and not just drug. When you're saying we mean alcohol as well, because alcohol is one of the most widely abused drugs that apparently our government says is okay to do.
Yeah,
it's a depressant, and it does all these terrible poisonous effects to your body over long periods of time. And you had no intoxicants. Like I guess caffeine, but you weren't necessarily intoxicated. You were just stimulated.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I guess it was probably a good thing in the end.
I was waiting for the resolution.
I hate it because I learned how to meditate, got really into that. And I can't say for sure that I wouldn't have caught myself, but at the point where I did get caught by Alabama, that was like the hardest I was ever partying. And I was showing no signs of slowing down at that point. So I was traveling all over, going to all these music festivals, doing anything that was thrown at me. Like I was the epitome of saying yes to everything. So things could have been a lot worse. I could have got caught with a lot worse than I did with a larger quantity. And I might, if that never happened, my brain might be fried today, So in the end, I suppose it was a good thing.
I think that's good that you have that self-awareness to recognize that even though it was terrible and it ultimately you were not doing anything damaging, you weren't lessening the worth of the world or hurting your fellow man or doing anything that people would consider criminal activity, any logical person would consider criminal activity, that because you had to live a Spartan, very austere lifestyle and you had to do this, I mean, you developed a lot of skills and coping strategies and a lot of hobbies and other things that you can do that are not related specifically to intoxicants.
Yeah. Oh, and at work, when this originally happened, I was like the lowest level there. And within the first year of not doing drugs and drinking all the time, I got like 5 promotions.
Wow. Do you think that was a product of you coming out and investing in yourself and the work instead of just getting through the day and then blowing off, you think it was you?
100%, yeah, because I didn't care at all before that. And then after that, I was like, not only did I have a reason to do good at work and actually
because you couldn't leave.
Yeah, I couldn't leave because I didn't want to have to try to explain why I have this felony arrest on my record. And they didn't know about it. To this day, my bosses at that place never knew. I just had several excuses in my back pocket why I couldn't come in until 11 o'clock every day.
Well, and it shows that you were valuable enough to kind of bend the system to support, this terrible thing that you had to endure, and that, you were obviously worth it enough, and you carried enough value that they were like, well, Kyle's never does anything. He never comes in late. He's never an issue. So, there must be, even though you were dishonest for a good reason.
Yeah. Didn't hurt them any.
It's like the old, when you ask, people at the first stage of Kohlberg's moral development, is stealing wrong? They're going to say yes no matter what you say. And then it's like, well, what if a man was stealing, the classic example is, what if a man is stealing, breaks into a pharmaceutical company to steal medication for his dying wife? Is that okay? And people, again, well, you should never steal, there's probably other ways. It's like, well, so again, like I think ultimately, you made the right call. And
especially considering I had to pay $400 extra a month for years.
God, that is just so enraging. Is that you become a cash cow? Not only let's just assume that you were an addict and you literally did need help. They would be draining you of all these money that you need to support your life, and you're not, and you still get it's like
draining me of all my money, not giving me any sort of actual help, and stressing me out a whole lot more than I was before when I had drugs. So I'd probably go right back to using drugs.
Yeah. So and you're probably going to do it as a rebellion. Is like, screw you, I'm done with this, I'm going back.
Yeah, but that's why it's called a vicious cycle.
That's right. Well, and people tend to rebel against things that they don't support or they don't endorse. And like when you're being told to do this by I mean, that's just all the pieces are there, I think. And I think it's glad that you can come out of this and not just be like, it was a huge waste of time and I'm worse off, because it definitely sounds like you're doing well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes things a lot sweeter afterwards when you are disciplined and don't indulge. When you actually finally can, things are a lot nicer. Like this last weekend, we were drunk for 4 days in a row.
Ugh. Don't remind me.
You remember that?
I remember that.
Remember the power hour you did 15 minutes of?
Okay, excuse me. I'm taking off the white gloves. That is uncalled for. I made it through 57% of that power
All
hour.
I'm saying is that when I looked down and Zach and I were opening our 6th beer, I saw that you had 2. Which, if you do the math, would be 15 minutes of a power hour. If 6 is the full
I was
hour.
taking some, I was sipping with the boys.
Okay.
I don't have to pretend like I'm a freshman in college and I'm trying to get every hole strung out.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I have said.
I have said. Well, great. Well, do you have any final thoughts about your 2-part adventure into felony land and into the wild world of Alabama law?
I think that's about it. If advice for people, if they don't take drugs into music festivals. Don't go to Alabama, first of all.
Correct. It's a trap.
Yeah. Try your damnedest not to do drugs in red states, because I think things will end badly.
They don't tend to understand the benefits of expanding one's consciousness and enjoying the communalism of an environment where everyone thinks and feels, and the diversity, and everyone's there for. They don't really get it.
Yeah. Don't drink and drive, most importantly. Don't ever have your car smelling like weed when you're driving. That's things that I've learned. If you do have to take drug tests, look up all the stuff that can trigger a false positive, because it's a lot. Don't eat everything bagels. Poppy seeds will test positive for heroin, which is a fun fact. Actually, I want to go eat an everything bagel. I've never had one, but I'm telling you, I've craved one for the last 2 years just because I couldn't. It's
just because it's the thing that's untouchable. And I will tell you from firsthand experience, it is absolutely not worth the hype.
But it's an everything bagel.
I promise you will be disappointed.
It's more like a nothing bagel.
It's like plain bagel. Bible.
Fine
It's a
Bible.
plain bagel that they threw a bunch of shit that was on the cutting board that they did, like onions and poppy seeds and cheese and it's just they just scrape it all on top. It's not as magic. It's not this chimera, this unicorn in the forest to track down. It's honestly like the hot dogs of the bagel world.
Ugh. That sucks.
And I guess from my perspective, you know, I have never been to jail, but I have been pulled over many times for speeding.
I've never been pulled over. So that's how clean of a record I have. I have never even been pulled over before.
Well, you're a good boy, and maybe I'm a little bit of a speed dancer. Maybe I'm a bad baby Kyle's not the baddest boy in the room.
Going down to North Kakalaki driving 110.
My car is very easy to speed in, and it is not in any way a sports car. It just is I want to say bulletous. Like it's like shaped like a bullet. I know it's not a word.
Bulletous.
It's bulletous. It's aerodynamic.
Yeah, you remember I think it was on the way down there. It was like 4 or 5 hours into me driving. I was just zoned out. And you were like, why are you going so slow, bud? Do you remember that?
Yep.
I didn't even realize I was going slow. I was just
You're like, oh, sorry, I've done this for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I was just zoned out. I was going like 50 in a 65. All right. Well, you got anything else?
I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining us on part 2 of Savage Discourse of Kyle gets out of jail and resumes his life as a law-abiding citizen. Well, he was always law-abiding, but
yeah,
returning to that life. And as always, if you guys like what you hear, please drop a like, leave a subby, write us an email, send us a fax. I mean, just write a message on a rock and leave it on my porch.
Throw it through the window.
No,
that way he'll definitely get it.
I promise you'll get it.
Throw it through the upstairs window.
Yes. So my roommate gets it and he comes down screaming.
He will run out with a samurai sword and probably trip.
Yes, that is actually that is good information.
I've seen it done, and we'll talk about that on another episode.
So thank you guys so much for joining us as always for Savage Discourse. I'm John.
I'm Kyle.
And we'll see you next week.
Hydrate, meditate, bye.
Everything's the same.